Alright, how's it going, everyone? This is Anon. None of this is financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. Alright, so I've been trying to do some research on MMAT and MMTLP, which is the other one that's actually been going up pretty aggressively. It's interesting, but I will get into that later when we get more people in here. So let me do this. Let me go ahead and figure out how to turn on a couple things, and then we will get started. Can everyone hear me okay? What's up, Rob? How are you, bud? Okay, let's move on to content. All right, can hear you fine. Good stuff. All right. So I know a bunch of people wanted to know about MMAT because that's kind of all the buzz right now. And I've been trying to basically go through and take a look at it as objectively as I can. I'll voice some of my concerns and kind of tell you what I'm seeing. So I know people are talking about shorts closing and all that stuff, but just wanted to bring up a couple things, which we'll kind of start with over here. I'll put it down here so we can adjust it next to the... There we go, and there. Okay. So something that I noticed that's a little bit troublesome, right? So it's been basically chilling out. It's been in this constant downtrend since basically the merger. It finally came down here. It had a nice little pop, and then it dropped like a rock, right? Got pushed down here, and then since then it's been going up. Shorts are closing on MMTLP. Yes, that part is correct, I think. On MMAT, though, MMAT's in a different situation because from what I was reading, basically the MMTLP is basically being delisted. That particular offshoot is going to no longer be on the exchange. They're going private, which means that anyone that had anything short there would be having to close that particular thing, right? So that's why the stock price has risen so much on that particular one, because they have no choice but to close any positions they had. So here's the interesting thing, though, right? So they should MMAT should get some cash from that. However, though, MMAT by itself is not profitable. MMAT is in a boat similar to Ethereum, where they're basically burning more cash than they actually have on their balance sheet. So, according to Dilution Tracker, the company only has basically a quarter's left of cash before they burn through all of it, which means that they are in some serious need of cash. The other thing I noticed was they just raised a shelf here. This November shelf. So they just registered a shelf last month worth basically $250 million. Well, here's the thing, right? So MMAT right now just put out $250 million worth of raisable dilution out there. Now, they only have these warrants here. Now, if you look at MMAT's price, they just finished at 180, right? Well, they've got these 175 exercisable warrants, and there's 37 million of them. So while people are getting caught up in this MMAT, or the MMTLP, thing, people are just assuming MMAT's the same exact boat, and it's not exactly. So if they all of a sudden issue out another 37 million shares, they might have already started, because once it crossed over this particular line right here, let me get this out of the way. There we go. Once they crossed over, here, let me just draw out the line. Let's make it. I had it. Sorry about that. There. This is where the warrants are. So anything that's above this line, they are able to exercise those warrants. All right? So as we look here, the exercise price is 175. This blue line represents that, like, 175. As you notice, it seems like whenever they've crossed over this, they're able to basically bring it back down, which may be that they're starting to issue out some of these warrants. Now, it says exercisable in 6 months. That was from the issue date. So 6 months from June would be December. So I just want to point that out. You've got 37 million, right, warrants that are out there that are exercisable above 175, which is this blue line. And they were not able to be touched until basically December, right? So they can't touch these until December. Oh, wait a second. Where are we right now? We're in December. December 6th. So I would be very wary at this point right now, knowing that there are literally warrants that are just becoming unlockable, that this didn't get pushed up basically to unlock those warrants. So could it run? Yeah, it could absolutely run. Maybe to like 5, or, they're basically unlocking right here. So like anything in this range would be profit for them, because I don't think they probably paid under this. So they'll be profitable anytime in this range. So it's how much you have, trust, and how, but I'm just saying, like, MMAT is not the same thing as MMTLP. So please don't get those two confused. So anyone that's in on this play, just be aware of that, okay? You have to realize that these guys have 37 million warrants outstanding, and they can unlock them basically in this month. And this is the blue line that as soon as it goes over that, they're eligible to basically dilute. So, ta-da. There's some research for you guys. So, I don't know if people might be mad that but I noticed that, and I'm like, this looks all too familiar. Okay, let me see. Danny wants to know about ASTS. ASTS. All right, so already I can see they have warrants. So look right here. If you see right here, it says warrant, and it gives you the ticker. So they also have warrants on this particular one. So let's take a look at them. So it looks like it's attempting to double bottom here. Now, if it breaks through there, then that's going to be uncharted territory. Okay, so let's do this. Let me go here-ish. That way I can show you both at the same time. So you would need to see if this holds right there. You go higher, slightly there. A little lower. All right. So you got to see it. Where did it close? It closed at $4. What did it do today? So it did dip down underneath there, but it looked like it popped back up. So that's a key level that I'd be watching just to see if it breaks through. This looks like it's trying to act as support, but, you know. All right, so let's take a look. So off the bat, I see they have high short interest. It looks like you've got institutions own less than 5 or just slightly over 5%. Looks like this float is pretty small. It's 64 million share float, but they do have some risk. It looks like they're going through an ATM. All right, so just so you know how to read this, basically, when I hover over this, it tells you there's 200 million shares outstanding right now. So they're literally actively diluting, it looks like. So if you want to know why the stock price is going down, it's probably because they're issuing out shares. So I bet you if you look, so if you look back in September, the shares outstanding was 182 million, and right now it's almost 200 million. So they're literally actively diluting right now. So there's probably an ATM. Yep, there's the ATM. So they're literally actively diluting on the stock there, Danny. So the reason why the stock price is going down is because they're literally doing an ATM at the money offering, and it's pushing the share price down because they're actively increasing the amount of shares out there, which devalues the shares you have. So it looks like they're trying to raise cash. They also have warrants up at 1150, but it won't probably be back there for a while, because if they're actively diluting right now, it will be probably, unless they can turn that money into something really great. They still have an equity line, it looks like. There's the shelf. They've got plenty of room on the shelf. So there you go. So, but yeah, it's literally diluting at the moment because they're doing an ATM. So the share price is going to probably be in this range, depending on when they're choosing to push out more shares. But this is not one that's going to move for probably a little bit. That would be my guess. Got a couple shares of Cabo. Cable One. It's got a 4.24 billion market cap, so it's a bigger company. Short interest is pretty low on it, and institutions own 60% of it. Dilution may not matter for this one because it's such a big company. They're not really at risk. Looks like BlackRock owns close to 13%, almost 9%, or a little bit over 9% there. Yeah, they've got some big players in on this stock. Let's take a look at the chart. It is in a nice free fall, though. It bounced off, it looks like this low, but they must have had some not so great news. So the question is, because obviously they tested this previous low down here. So same thing, let's see. So yeah, it basically was testing this bottom right here. Didn't quite make it down that far. If the SPY tanks over the next couple days, though, you could see it test this 580 line. If we pull up Discord, I'm pretty sure we would see that there's going to be... Let me see if I can pull up Discord. All right, let's see. Okay. Let's pull up... Okay, let's pull up this. So I need to do TA. Ticker is CABO. Yep, so it looks like there is support. Right now we're up here, so looks like support levels are 706 and like 699, 700 basically. So there should be two supports. One here-ish, here. And another one, the second support would be at basically 700, which is there, and there should be one. Zoom in closer because we're not going to be able to see these. Let me just do it this way. So here-ish, and there should be one 706. Like here-ish. So I'd be watching to see if it bounces off this one, continues up, or if it breaks down, breaks through. If it breaks through this one, then you're looking at basically the other low, the all-time low, it looks like, or one of the recent lows, I should say, really. Didn't quite touch that, so I need to move this whole thing up. See if that touches. Zoom out. Makes it super hard to see. How do I hide the volume? There we go. So it's like 597. That chart looks like my portfolio. Yeah, it looks like a lot of our portfolios right now. So, yeah. So this is a big company still. I mean, obviously they've got some stuff going on, but like they're providing service for more than close to 1 million residents in 21 states through Sparkline and Clear Wave brands. I'm not familiar with either one of those, but I'm sure somewhere. I'm guessing this is some sort of like cable company in, somewhere in the U.S. So, but they obviously do. They're a pretty big company. So, and they have a lot of institutions that own them already. So, but yeah, they've been pushed into the dirt. So I'd be looking at this very closely. Who's in on this? Who wants to know? guess it was Hurt. So Hurt, I would be keeping an eye on these two support lines right here, seeing what happens. If it breaks through there, you could retest this like 589 roughly level that was set in the recent low. So I mean, it almost got there here, but like this is one that's obviously been in very much a downtrend. So I mean, yeah, I mean, it could go back up and then bounce up, but until it breaks through, like, I mean, you can draw it out a couple different ways, but you know, it's clearly in a downtrend right now, and I'm sure if we did a couple adjustments, we could see. I'm just more really interested into this one. But yeah. This was where, a little bit further out, sometime next year, you know, it'd be kind of coming into this culmination of between the previous low and this downtrend. But keep an eye on this area right here very closely. All right. Let's see. What happens to warrants? Yeah. I mean, at this point, we'll see what happens with it. But yeah, it's in the falling wedge, and Dirty's correct. I don't know. I wouldn't jump in yet, personally. Like, I mean, if you have a position, that's fine. For me, I would like to see it test this bottom here, where it's been before, and at that point, I would feel better about an entry. But you know, this is also me not even looking at the balance sheet. Like, let's just see. Is there a particular reason why it got so hammered down? Hurt. Why did you buy Cabo? Just curious. What was your rationale behind it? Let's take a look real quick at the filing. I mean, their current assets have. I mean, let's see. Their cash is less than before. Was that AR has gone up? So they have money coming in, just hasn't been paid yet. They wrote off something. It looks like income taxes receivable, prepaid and other. So total current assets right here has gone down. On the other side, though, their equity investments has gone up. That could be, you know, something in the market. It could be, you know, a couple of different things, but something that they invested in has gone up in value. Their plant is gone down in value. Intangible assets has stayed the same relatively. Goodwill has still stayed roughly the same. So not a huge change there. I don't see a huge change on the liabilities either. So I'm curious why there was such a huge drop. Okay, there we go. Cable company ordered to pay $7 billion in damages to family of Texas grandmother murdered by employee. Wait, what? They have to pay $7 billion? What? Wow. Wait. I mean, okay. I get a couple million. Like, they awarded $375 million in compensatory damages. After the trial revealed systematic failures. Tuesday, the verdict for punitive damages. I mean, that's insane. That's so much money. $7.37 billion. There's no way they're going to have to pay that full amount, right? There's no way. So they're just going to transfer $7 billion over to that family? I mean, don't get me wrong. That, like, is horrible what that person did. And that's a huge amount of money. I've never seen a punitive damage that high. Let me see. Do you normally have to pay the full how do you spell it? Punitive damages. Let's see. Yeah, I was going to say punitive damages are not usually awarded, or not always awarded. Yeah, I was going to say it's... The tobacco company got sued for $206 billion. Their aim is not to compensate the plaintiff, but rather to punish the defendant for egregious... That's a lot of money. I mean, if you look at that balance sheet against what they would owe, that's like their entire total assets. That's more than their total assets. Wow. Interesting. Well, that's why the stock price is like that. Now, what could happen is the stock price goes up once the court, they appeal and the court decides that, they don't have to pay that full amount. Bro, what scumbags? Oh, is that what happened? Murder my mom, but don't worry about the bill. Yikes. Yeah, I didn't read the whole story. I was kind of skimming, but yeah, that's pretty bad. That's probably why they got completely killed, to be honest with you. It's because they were worried about stupid stuff. How do I'm stuck. Let's see. Try doing it this way. I I can probably get by on 1 billion. Yep. But yeah, terrible story. I don't like that at all. But I was just telling you why. That's probably when they saw the amount that the punitive damages were. This thing's been basically dropping like a rock. Now, what I can tell you is this. So this was all during, excuse me, this was all during COVID. Hits its peak. This is probably, honestly, people trying to get their money out, the biggest shareholders. And then since then, I mean, just to be honest with you, I would love to see the institution's averages, because like yeah, Alexander, I know it's hard to be like, yeah, well, that's a company I want to invest in. The people that literally like did some crappy things when somebody got murdered because of them, because failures in their system. But I mean, from a purely just chart and like technical perspective, it's going to probably at some point even out. And then as the court case will come through, you're going to see, probably the stock at least normalize or find some sort of like normalcy. It might be, it's a big company. So, do warrants stay the same regardless if a company does a reverse split? Or do the amount of warrants shrink with the outstanding shares? That's a good question. I can't think of any ones I've been in where that happened. So we're going to probably have to do some research, because I don't know the answer offhand, because I've never been part of a company that had that happen. Warrants shrink during a reverse split. I would think yes. Reverse. Yeah, I would think it does. Well, maybe it's saying it's not. Attorneys noted that after the grisly murder, her family was hit with a bill from Spectrum that included $58 charges for Holden's service call bills, and eventually they were sent to a collections agency. Ugh. My guess would be some of that's automated. They probably didn't like actually go through and flag it, so they just had procedures in place, but it's super tone deaf. Sorry. All right, let's see. Do warrants, or I guess I should say, how to work with a reverse split. The warrant has no adjustment provision in the event of a reverse split. Clearly, though, common sense would dictate that your company would be entitled to adjust the strike price proportionally. All right. Written a while ago, but I'm sure it's probably still relevant. Your company's just consummated a 1-for-5 reverse split. As a result, the market price has increased 5-fold. The warrant holder then comes out of the woodwork seeking to purchase the number of shares set forth pre. Oh, that's not good. The warrant holder still has, let's see, at least the recent decision on this issue by the highest court in New York State. The Court of Appeals held in favor of the warrant holder by refusing to imply a adjustment provision that could have been but not written into the warrant. The decision underscores the importance of a skillful preparation of warrant agreements. Interesting. Yeah, so apparently they ruled in favor of the warrant holder that they could still, and I guess it would have to be written into the warrant. So the court stated that the opposite result would have been appropriate if the forward split were at issue. But because the act of a reverse split usually is generally within the company's control, otherwise a company would be interesting. Now, this was 2002. Interesting. So they say somebody on Reddit said they get adjusted accordingly as well. But I guess in this one particular instance, the company got to keep them the way they were. Huh. I guess it's all depending on what the wording in there is, Dirty. So, there you go. Let's take a look at a couple more. Check in with ATER. Nothing much has happened. It's literally just in this, like, holding pattern in this trading in this range. I mean, like, if you were to draw it out, it'd be basically just here to here in this range, and it's just been chilling there since basically the initial drop. So not a whole lot's going on there. Let's see if we can pull up some other ones. Sorry, I'm just writing something in the Discord. Tarifa's funny. When do you anticipate the warrant run on ATER? First quarter 2023. I'll be honest with you. I mean, they've got plenty of time, so they need to run it up on something. they've got to be able to hang their hat on something. Before they were able to blame retail because basically when this all happened, if we go back to this run, when this all happened, right, where we just exploded out of the blue, they could have blamed us, right? Retail was pumping the stock, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's not really happening right now, right? So what's happened now is they need something to hang their hat on to blame. So whether that's, hey, Cyber Monday came through and ATER did well, or earnings next quarter, comes out better than expected, they need something to be able to push the stock price up. They didn't last time, but they also probably could have blamed, Reddit or stock, internet forums when the short interest went up because of basically Armistice locking up the float. So the short the SI percentage went up. We started writing DD about that. That they could have probably blamed it on that. Now you've basically got us doing nothing, and there's not really been great or bad news. It's just been kind of like neutral. So the macro is not great. So they need to have some reason for the stock to go up, because right now the market's not going up. So. Yeah, they've got warrants all over the place between 3 and the 120. Let me just see if I can pull it up for you. Okay, so so we're using dilution tracker. I'm just throwing up ATER, and what we have here is the warrants are at $2 at 320. Yeah, so there. It's $2. I believe they got them for $190. And these ones right here, their exercise price of $320, and I think they got them at like $290 or something like that. So only 11 million left on 11.5 million left on the shelf, so they have to refile something if they wanted to do anything else beyond that. But at this point right now, we'll see what ends up happening. We're going to need to see what happens really next quarter. So I would expect nothing to happen until next quarter unless something, big happens randomly. But they've got tons of these warrants just sitting there chilling. And yeah, but not 120. They've got these 10 million at $2. And then you've got these ones at 320, another 7 million. And they already own right now 8% of the stock. So they need to push it up and then get rid of some to unlock the warrants. So, yeah, I would expect it to be sometime next year, like at least that when they have a reason to do something. And that may come with the entire market as well, where basically they're looking for undervalued assets and they will start putting money into some of these small caps, IWM, and that will just overall push the stock price up as rich people are rotating out of large caps and into small caps because they were just been so beat down. So there you go. Besides that, let's see. What did Pat want? He wanted. He wanted tops. I told him I have to go through the foreign filings. There is dilution out there. The company is cash flow positive, but we just don't know what they want. You know, they've got these warrants here at $2 a share. If you look back and see, they went from 2 million to almost 10 million. So 8 million shares of dilution has already happened. And on top of that, they still have another 6.75. So they still have got dilution coming, but they are cash flow positive, and they do have a good chunk of change right now, it looks like. So, but they still have these November warrants sitting there at $2. And if you look at the ticker on top, right, my son's getting up. Top ships. That's a crazy thing. Stock prices at roughly 2. That's where the warrants are. So this little run up could have been because they were pushing the price up, and then they diluted. So you've got a large gap here as well. So my guess would be they may try to fill this gap that they left, and then in the meantime, what they'll probably do is just kind of chunk it in this range, selling off shares. So, but yeah, I don't know if it's going to go much further than that. It looks like right now they're literally actively diluting against it, because you went from basically September, you know, to this huge jump, like 8 million shares plus another 6.75. So it looks like there's dilution happening there. Yeah, Alexander, I actually started with MMAT and MMTLP. MMTLP, I think, is basically just moving up because the shorts are closing because the stock's being basically pulled to go private. But MMAT does have actually some warrants that are going to be eligible in December, which makes me worried. So go back to the beginning of the video when we're done, and you can watch what we were talking about. But yeah, if you have MMTLP, congrats, you got a burner, and that should be good, and those shorts will close out, and then that stock will disappear. So, all right, but yeah, this Top Ships one, I'm not super stoked on that, because it looks like they've been basically pushing through, and you know, they're able to basically dilute anytime it goes over 2. So if you look, they've been pushing up. Probably dilution's happening, and they'll do this a couple times before it kind of settles out. And then, am I getting into MMTLP? No, I'm not going to touch it. That's one that I'm just not touching. Stock's being delisted anyway, so. But I am not touching MMAT either, just because of the warrants. And then he asked also about comms. I don't know much about comms. Comms Sovereign Holding. This doesn't look great. No, once a company goes private, like they, you know, I think you just, wherever the stock price settles, it's done, because I think once it goes private, somebody has bought the shares, right? They're going to pay for whatever the stock price is, and then. But my guess would be they wouldn't want the thing to go up. So let's double check and let's see. Is it being delisted, right? What happens to shares when a company goes private, right? let's see. No, it's fine. I'm just basically pulling this up. So when a publicly traded company goes private, company's shares are purchased at a premium by the investors buying the company. So the company is delisted from the stock exchange. So basically, whatever it's worth, I think, that's what they'll get bought for. And then at that point, you will just get cash. Yeah, you get cash proceeds from it, right? Yeah, usually they'll set a price on it. Like Twitter set that price of like 54 when he bought it, right? That's what he agreed to purchase it for, Elon. Yeah, so like for example, Twitter. Twitter delisted on November or October 27th, right? And it was what Elon roughly agreed to pay for it. So, if MMTLP is being delisted, but hold on, MLP. All right, here's an article. Okay, so MMTLP settle positions as of one will receive 1 share of NextBridge hydrocarbon for every. Okay, so they're not being delisted. They're basically changing tickers, it looks like, right? Okay, so that's a little bit different. So if the company was being delisted, it's one thing. It looks like this must be changing. So what is NextBridge hydrocarbons stock ticker? So basically, it is a spin-off, right? That's what it looks like. It's the Series A preferred. Let's see, Series A preferred stockholders of NextBridge. Sorry if this is boring, but yeah, I've heard that as well. I I'm just wary just because it seems like anytime these mergers go through or something like this happens, retail always seems to get screwed. Like, it literally is like, without fail, anytime retail thinks they have something figured out, they will end up screwing them somehow. Like, the market will. I've not had time to really just dig through every bit of this, so I don't want to give anyone, too much. What I'll tell you is this is not a normal, or not, I shouldn't say no, but like, it looks like most shorts have probably already closed, and this what was it called? The Next Bridge hydrocarbons, whatever, is going to be some sort of like new ticker. So therefore you'll get a 1-for-1, like, exchange for those tickers or for those shares. We'll see what ends up happening with that. But I would have to probably dig through all of these to kind of figure out what's going on here. And that would be a lot of time that I don't really have tonight. So maybe we can take a look at it tomorrow together if you want, Alexander. But what I can tell you is that I'm not touching it. I'm not touching MMAT either right now. On Wednesday, there was a short-lived attack at the close. This was written by somebody that's probably long on it. Yeah, I mean, as long as you're not risking too much, I wouldn't put my life savings on this thing. That's what I can tell you now. But, I don't know. This microcap daily looks like a bunch of it's like Reddit, just in a better, more. Yeah, don't gamble all your money on a ticker that we're not sure what's going on. Well, if you want, what we'll do is we'll take a look at it tomorrow, and then if things do well. Yeah. Rizzer, I was going to say, I agree with you on that. It seems like every single time that, we come out and go, this time it's different, it's never ever different. And then we'll get upset, and eventually, yeah, like the amount of times mergers and splits they just never go retail's way. It's like the industry knows it, and yet we fall for it every single time, it seems like. Because this time it's different. And it's usually not. So we'll see. Besides that, guys, though, I think I'm gonna jump off. I'm gonna go take a look. I'm working on a couple projects, but I'm working on learning. I think I told some of you guys, teaching myself Premiere Pro, and so I can start doing some more regular videos. That way, we don't have to do. I'll still do the live stream 2 days a week, but some of the other days I can put up maybe some videos. So, you guys have a great evening, and then make sure you check out the beginning of the video if you missed the MMAT thing, because I think that is important, knowing that there are warrants that are just becoming unlockable for MMAT. Especially, and there's 37 million shares at was it $2? Was that right? Is that what we established? Let me just make sure. Yeah, so right here, 37 million at $1.75, and you guys have to remember these were exercisable in 6 months. Well, 6 months from July is boom. So these things are ready to go at 175, and MMAT right now is trading at 195. So it's above the warrant levels right now. And as long as they keep this thing kind of in this range and it starts pushing up, people get excited, right? Because the spinoff, this starts going up, they're going to be able to dilute on people. So just wanted to throw that out there. But take a look at the beginning of the video. So, all right, guys, good night. We'll see you guys on Thursday, and have a great evening. Everyone take